Webb is just challenging me. Briefly before he does, this deck is a delight. It's a Xerox deck, except it takes advantage of the new. Is that from Commander or Double Masters? It feels like a Commander card, Hull Breacher, which prevents your opponent from drawing cards and lets you make treasures instead, which are essentially Lotus Petals. So the deck does normal Xerox things, and then instead of killing with a young Pyromancer or a Sedgemoor Witch, you have the option of flashing in Hull Breacher, Wheel of Fortune, there's a Time Twister in here somewhere, and doing something completely obnoxious. Or you just have the much more boring but probably more powerful angle of Tinker into Bolas' Citadel with a bunch of artifacts. Then Sensei's Divining Top just draws infinite cards. Just draws 1 life per card, so it's basically just infinite cards. The sideboard is fairly standard. I suspect Webb is playing Dredge in at least one of these games, so I had to not just cut all my Dredge hate, but we'll see what happens. Hopefully he's not playing Dredge in this matchup, because I don't think this deck is very good against Dredge, given that it wants its opponent to draw a lot of cards. And B, he's playing Dredge. If he's exiling cards, yeah. And B, I think this deck is a lot of fun, so I would like to play it against a fun deck. But my opponent is missing 2 Force of Wills from their deck, so that's something. So against Dredge, none of your cards matter. I think you have to go for a fast Tinker, and you've got the artifact, but you don't really have a lot else. I think I mulligan this. Yeah, I think this one's fine. Obviously we're putting the Citadel back. But we've got a Force of Will if we need it. We can preordain looking for action. We've got the artifact for the Tinker. I don't think 6 is better, but I might be wrong. Notably, one of the other decks I'm playing is actually main deck for Leyline of the Void, for Leyline plus Helm of Obedience combo, and I was very close to playing it straight up because I thought we might be playing Dredge, but I couldn't bring myself to metagame against him that hard. This sadly is not actually a combo against Dredge. They get to choose which card replaces their draw step. Sorry, which replacement effect replaces their ability to draw cards. So they will just obviously choose to Dredge instead of being Time Twisted to death. And once they've already got a couple of Dredges in the bin, it doesn't really matter anymore. Ooh, but we found the Tinker. Okay. That's good. Well, we're going to put that on the bottom, and we're going to put the Tinker on the top, and we're going to draw the card, and then we're going to say go. I'm just wondering if there's an argument for playing Mox Pearl, and I don't think there is. We'll see what happens. Narcomoebas. Alright. So our opponent's doing the thing. They're going to get to Cabal Therapy us, and we presumably let the first Cabal Therapy resolve, because they will probably try and take Force of Will, which I'm okay with. And if they don't take Force of Will, I don't think they're going to name Tinker. Not off Underground Sea Preordain. Yes, yes, yes. Very good. So we're dead next turn if the Tinker out a very large artifact strategy doesn't work. So there are 2 bridges in the bin. Okay, there are 3 bridges in the bin. I will permit my opponent to name a card. If they hit Tinker, good for them. Oh, they've hit 2 more Cabal Therapies? Yeah, okay, I'm dead. Oh dear. This is presumably going to name Tinker, and then the third one's probably going to name Time Twister. Although, yeah, that's a shame. I came so close to assembling the Bolas to Citadel combo. Okay, so they're taking Time Twister, so then they're coming back for the Tinker as well. Time Twister is, secretly very good because it hates out their graveyard. Although at this point, I obviously don't really care about hating out their graveyard when they've got 1,000,000 power in play. Ah, I see. How rude. How rude. That is a good use of Noxious Revival. Alright, well, these are coming in for sure. This is coming in for sure. And these are coming in. And the Soul Guide Lanterns will also be coming in. And then I will think a little bit about what else I want. And Pithing Needle. So these cards are great. Swords to Plowshares can go away. Usually, Bolas Citadel is not as amazing against Dredge. Blightsteel Colossus is sort of the fast tinker kill that you need. But I'm not sure what this deck actually... Hold on, let's leave it for a moment. The Hull Breaches I'm very not interested in. They don't do anything. Jace Vryn's Prodigy can go. It also doesn't do anything. I don't know how many Pyroblasts I want. My opponent definitely plays blue cards, but it's just Force of Will. Deck Faden. Yeah, at this point I'm cutting cards that are all sort of fine, but yeah, these cards at this point are all exactly fine, but not fantastic. I kind of like keeping a Deck Faden around because it digs me a little better. I think the Lightning Bolt might be the cut. And then I could cut top Citadel for the package there. I'm just wondering if that's better than cutting, say, like a Deck Faden and a Pyroblast. I think I'm happy to keep one Pyroblast around just to see what's going on, but I don't really want more than one. Tinker's obviously the best card in the deck. Merchant Scroll gets me something that isn't a Tinker but might draw me into a Tinker. DT gets everything. Yeah. Let's cut a Deck Faden. I don't think the slow plan of drawing cards is ever going to be good. Well, this hand's not very good. We will mulligan it. This hand's much better. Look at this text. Look at it. Also, you've got a Time Twister. So, we'll keep this. I don't know what I'm putting back here. It's probably Yawgmoth's Will if I've got the Twister. I think them Force of Vigoring, Pithing Needle, and then replaying it with Yawgmoth's Will is just a little too far away. Our opponent is proceeding to put cards back into their deck in search of Bazaar of Baghdad, which bodes very well for us. They're down to 3 cards, so they may not be able to have an answer to Pithing Needle. Though having said that, they obviously now will have the Mental Misstep or Force of Will plus blue card. We'll get a Volcanic Island. I wonder what I will name with this card. Abandoned Hope, perhaps. Not Bizarre Cravod. I will click correctly. My opponent does not wish to put their Bazaar into play and expose it to a wasteland. I guess they don't really know what I'm playing. This is a little irritating because I wanted to draw a land, but I wanted to draw one that made mana for Time Twister. So we won't fetch. Land. Yeah, that plays. My opponent is just complaining that now they are the one who is not permitted to play lands. There's going to be an interesting decision in a second about, well, next turn specifically, about whether or not I play the Tabernacle before I cast Time Twister, and I think I am going to. You know, I'm more than happy to pay 1 mana for Monastery Mentor to keep it alive. And I would really like to draw into more Graveyard Hate. So my opponent is at 6 cards in hand, and presumably hasn't found an answer yet, so I don't really want to let them draw into more answers. I think for now we're just going to sit here and do some things. If they make me discard my Time Twister, you know, good on them, but I think for now we're just going to sit and wait. It's also different. Once they get to 7 cards in hand, they can pass the turn and discard a Dredger and start their engine that way. So I'm much more likely to Time Twister now and see what happens. Ooh, a Narset. That's a good one. Because my opponent is definitely not going to be able to win once I Time Twister with this thing in play. And if they do have a Force card here for Narset, yeah, perfect. They're not going to be bidding a Dredger next turn. I will take Demonic Tutor, thank you very much. And next turn I can DT, and if I draw a land I can Tinker. And then I will have a Bolas of Citadel or a Blightsteel Colossus in play, depending on the game state. Or I might get a Time Walk, depending on the game state as well. So I expect my opponent to discard, you know, Golgari Grave Troll or some obnoxious dredge card here. Yeah, there's the Grave Troll. Okay, so I don't really want them to. So if I DT for Time Walk, my opponent probably can't interact. They would have fought over the Narset. Yeah, I think it's just DT for Time Walk. And then I'll figure out the Time Twister Twin thing next turn. Always yield to that. And always yield to that. Always yield to that. May I have another turn, please? Time Walk. Force of Negation, pitching Force of Will. That's reasonable. I will take a Soul Guide Lantern. That seems better than an Ancestral Recall, which is a strange thing to say. What a game. What a wild game. So this was 11 damage. Yeah, they're not doing anything next turn. Cool. Alright, well, we've had 2 games where very little fun has happened. Yeah, if they're playing... Yeah, Pyroblast is a very variable card here. Maybe I don't want the DAC and I want another Pyroblast. I could see that. I just somewhat like having access to, something to do. You saw in that game that obviously they can never ever contest the board other than getting their engine going. So, anything that sits on the board and can just get you a little bit closer to going off or doing something is... So I was thinking about whether I want Bolas Citadel. Anything can sit on the board and, you can activate it each turn as a Planeswalker, or I can attack each turn. That's the sort of snowballing advantage you need. I think I'm not super keen on both DACs being out of the deck. But I suppose my opponent does have a lot of pitch spells. Alright, submission received. Good. This hand's interesting. So we've got Needle for Bazaar, and we've got Force for the removal spell, but then the hand is very bad after that. Because we've just got lands and this unplayable Bolas of Citadel. And if you play Needle turn 1, obviously you could try an Ancestral to find another card to pitch to Force of Will to protect Needle, but I think on average Dredge can beat a Pithing Needle. But certainly, so you have to have Remove Yourself the Needle and Counter Magic for the Force of Will. I think I have to mulligan because they're going to play Bazaar turn 1 on the play, and then nothing's going to matter. This hand's much better. I think I can keep this hand. We're going to put Blightsteel Colossus back. We have no graveyard interaction, but we're going to DT on turn 1. Maybe get graveyard interaction if we're going to lose, but otherwise get a land and tinker for Colossus turn 2. And if we naturally draw the land, we're going to tinker for graveyard interaction. We're going to DT for graveyard interaction. Hello, Bazaar. Yep, Stinky Icarid, which comes back by exiling a black card above it, and an Archimeber. Land, please. Wheel of Fortune. That's not a land. Okay, let's just make this do this. I don't think there's a graveyard hate piece I particularly wish to get here. I think just making a turn 2 Blightsteel Colossus is the way to go. They can't get off the board. They can chump it a little bit, but meh. So I suppose we just do that now. Blue. I did briefly forget what format I was playing with the idea of DTing for land. I thought I was playing a Highlander briefly. Blightsteel Colossus. Bolas of Citadel is a significantly more fun card to get, but also I believe a significantly worse card to get. They may return an Icarid. That's totally reasonable. Hollow One, Archimeber, Cabal Therapy, sure. Alright, well I guess I'll be Force of Willing a Cabal Therapy. To make them think that the last card in my hand actually matters. Although they probably can't afford to play around me having anything actually. Because this obnoxious monster is going to kill them. And they didn't hit more than one bridge? Yeah, they only hit one. I should probably just pop it out. They only hit one bridge, so if they sack their Icarid, They can chump with their zombie, and they don't get multiple extra turns out of their one bridge. Cool. Oh, I assume Cabal Therapy's on the stack. Yeah, sure. I mean, they're obvious. Maybe they don't name Force of Will. They're 100% naming Force of Will, but we live in hope. Ah, he named Time Walk. That's interesting. I suppose that is the card that just straight up kills them. I would like to attack and hope that the Force of Will is good enough. So that'll be it. I would like to... Murdo won't let me deal 10 infect to my opponent. Murdo's onto me. So they've hit some amalgams, which is a little problematic, but they need to put 11 power in front of 11 toughness in front of this thing for the rest of the game. So I don't think they're going to get there. Remembering, of course, that Force of Vigor does nothing against this. So force. What's the miss? Yeah, they have not gone particularly well with their dredging. Like, they've got 1 bridge, 2 bridge, but no, like, flashback spells and all their hollow ones seem to be hitting the bin. Like, they can attack with this and make 2 zombies, but that doesn't get them anywhere. Yeah, cool. Alright, bad luck to our opponent. Unfortunately, well, I was going to say, unfortunately, they didn't get there, but I'm never going to be upset about the fact that Dredge has lost the game. So, the next question, if you hang out in chat and you wish to decide, these are the decks that I can play. I'm definitely playing the Dark Depths deck, because I think it's delightful. And then the other options are there's this Bug mid-range deck, and this Bolas of Citadel Witch Tinker type package. I think I'll play Dark Depths next, and then play the Citadel Witch or the Bug mid-range deck last, because those decks were, like, those decks are also blue Xeroxy decks, and we just played a blue Xeroxy deck. But if you would particularly like to see something, or you have a list, I can also just rent whatever list you're particularly interested in. So for now, I'm just going to rent Dark Depths and play the second match against Web, and then we'll see what happens. This deck is a trait. I was very sad that this was not the deck I chose to play game 1. I think it would have been very tilting for Webb, because we had a brief discussion about whether or not we'd have a gentleman's agreement that no one plays Dredge. And he said, no, I refuse to accept that agreement, so I very much considered main decking Leyline, playing like, this, playing 2-card Monty, etc. I like this deck a lot. I think it's a sort of deck that is very adaptable from an unpowered list. If you were thinking of playing Masters and you have some of these cards, you can probably play this deck without really losing too much. Sure, Lotus is good in the list and is irreplaceable, but you don't have to play it. The same goes for Mox Jet. They dramatically speed up your ability to make a Marit Lage, but they are not at all essential. You can certainly splash 2 colours to try and make up for that. You can play Mox Diamond, just like the Legacy build does, to make up for that. Yes, go away, rental screen. Did I get everything? What did they forget to give me? No. Yeah, so this deck, obviously there are 4 Dark Depths, 4 Thespian Stage, 4 Urborgs, just like every other time this is played. We're playing some Dark Rituals to complement this to go as fast as possible. Yawgmoth Swill's a cute little, buy it all back and go again trick. We're playing a lot of hand attack. I got 2 more Duresses in the board. And then Hex Mage, obviously, again, combos with Dark Depths, occasionally combos with your opponent's Planeswalkers. And then there's a little bit of removal. At some point, your opponent's going to try and put a creature into play and attack you or have some sort of hate bear. There's no main deck Pithing Needle for Wasteland. We're just hoping to dodge Wasteland. We have Strip Mine and Wasteland of our own, where are they? Here and here, to try and beat that lock. But Wasteland decks are much less prominent in this format than other formats where you might play Dark Depths. And then the last touch is this Dark Confidant. You have a pretty low curve. Your opponent has to think about this while simultaneously trying to fight back against the nonsense going on here. And you have a backdoor combo as well. So we get Leyline of the Void, which gives you very, very good game against Dredge, which is relevant if you're coming to Masters and you don't have the ability to power out hate cards with Moxen, etc. And Helm of Obedience, which if you don't know how the combo works, this exiles cards from your opponent's graveyard, so this just keeps trying to put cards in. They never go in, and you deck your opponent. Notably, it doesn't work if they have an Eldrazi in their deck. Sorry. What am I talking about? Yes, absolutely works if they have an Eldrazi in your deck. I was thinking of Grindstone Painter. So it's a cleaner combo, just much more mana. The key thing with this, I think, is if you're going to bring this deck to Masters and you don't have the powerful mana acceleration here, it might not be as good. You can't sort of cheese turn 1 wins off land, Black Lotus, or land, Dark Ritual, Mox Jet, etc. And then we have Karn the Great Creator. Play a small selection of artifacts in the board. Another copy of Helm of Obedience, Chalice if you need it. There's this sort of cute liquid metal coating effect if they've got a Planeswalker or something that you can't beat otherwise. And then some, random hate pieces. Otherwise, sideboard is really just cards I struggled to figure out what exactly was going to run the board, and it's just cards that were in this deck's sideboard and other cards I liked. Infernal Reckoning I thought was a cute answer to Eldrazi. And there's a Change of Mephistopheles, which I'm not actually that big a fan of, but I suppose it is a classic. I mostly just hope to get Web with turn 1 Swamp Dark Ritual Opposition Agent after they crack their fetch land, so we're going to hope that happens. The other thing I need to confirm is I suspect that Helm of Obedience works for X equals 0, but I really do need to make sure of that. Having never played Helm, rest in peace, before, I will probably Google that during a match. If you're in chat and you know, please tell me. But my understanding is yes, you mill until they put 0 cards in their bin, and they never put cards in their bin. I think Webb is just renting his deck now, so we will no doubt start soon. The only thing I'm not really sure about with this deck is how aggressively you go for the combo. You've obviously got VT, DT, but you're also playing Imperial Seal, which is, not really a card that turns up too often in these decks. Like, it's a sorcery speed top deck tutor, so you've got to be pretty confident that what you're doing is the right thing. I certainly am not confident that I know what decisions to make with this deck. Hello, Web. And this card, really punishes you if you get it wrong. Alright. We won the dice roll. Excellent. We would like to play first. So we're going to put Leyline of the Void into play on turn 1. And then we're going to play Dark Depths and Mox Jet and go to 3, 5 mana, 6 mana, and remove 2 ice counters from it. Yeah, I don't think that's doing it. This hand I like. You get a Bob on turn 1 or a Duress, and you can Karn the Great Creator on turn 2. I like this hand. I will keep this hand. I think I'm putting Thespian Stage back. I don't think I need 2 copies of Thespian Stage. This is exciting. I don't know what this deck does or how good the Dark Depths combo is, so we're going to learn together. Our opponent has kept 6 as well, so off to the races. I will play a Mana Crypt and see what happens. Play an Urborg. I'm probably going to... I just realized I probably actually want to duress my opponent. I think it's better than playing Dark Confidant, but that means I played Mana Crypt for nothing, which is very unfortunate. And I don't really want to duress the Dark Confidant next turn, then have to choose between duressing and carning. Duress, have 3 mana floating, not doing anything. Yeah. Dark Confidant can be the card that we rebuild with. And I would just accept that I'm flipping unnecessarily. Someone's having fun. So good thing I chose to duress, because this hand is bonkers. So this is 3, 4, 5 mana. You paradoxical. Interesting. I think the card takes just Lotus. Like, if you take paradoxical, they get to make a Charbelcher, and I don't think this deck ever beats Charbelcher. You're not taking Mystical, they get to draw 3 cards. Yeah, I'm inclined to take Lotus. It turns off the most things. It's just a shame that they still have a bunch of cool things to do. I just really wanted to actually take a real spell. Well, this is not a real spell. Alright. They drew a Mox Emerald. Wow. And a Mox Jet. And a Mox Sapphire. So their hand at this point, Jet, Sapphire, is, yeah, Mystical Tutor, Charbelcher, Paradoxical Outcome. Cool. I suspect they don't have many lands in their deck. I will choose heads. Tails, I lost the flip. How unreasonable is that? Unfortunately for my opponent, Khan the Great Creator is not really the card they wanted me to have here. I mean, like, at this point, I think my opponent is probably hoping I die to my own Mana Crypt flips. So giving them an extra flip was definitely not where I wanted to be. Yeah, so I suspect my opponent here is mysticaling for something they can use, like maybe a Force of Will. Which, what do they put on top? Balagad Recovery. Ah, cool. Yeah, cool. I thought they couldn't get lands with Mystical Tutor, but we have since printed modal double face cards, so they can get lands. Alright, what does this thing do? I can kill their Moxen, but I don't really care about doing that. Or I can go and fetch an artifact from outside the game. I think I want to do that. That sounds better. What am I getting? Helm of Obedience, Damping Sphere, Chalice of the Void, Liquid Metal Coating. I wish I'd just put a Mycos Inflatus in my sideboard at this point. I think I will get Helm of Obedience because I might draw the combo. I might get Cage, actually. I suspect my opponent's probably doing something that Cage is good against. And it also notably means I can Dark Confidant plus Thoughtseize plus Cage next turn if I think I need to. So Mystical's gone. My opponent's going to play a green source. I will probably proceed to kill their Moxen just for the sake of it, because they eventually will get this thing off the battlefield. Heads, please. Heads, I won the flip. Well, that's fun. I'm feeling better about playing Dark Confidant. Ooh. Ooh. Elegant Recovery is in play. View sideboard. Yes, sadly there's no artifact that combos with this, but I can do the slow Thor, I guess. So this does work, right? Yeah, so I can Thoughtseize them into the bargain. Cool, I'll take Charbelcher, I guess. I think that's the thing that's more likely to kill me. And yeah, now I think this is, I don't know what my opponent can draw here. If they draw Wasteland, I'll be very upset. I would thoroughly deserve it if they draw Wasteland and I waited on this. Yeah, cool. So they're playing Charbelcher, Paradoxical Outcome combos. They want to go fast, so I want Duress. I'm just wondering if Leyline of the Void is necessary. I don't think it hates out their deck that much, and I don't think the Howl of Obedience combo is really how I'm going to win. Because I don't think they have much interaction for this ridiculous nonsense. So I definitely want Mind Break Trap as well as the Duresses. Chalice is probably good in the deck. Grafdigger's Cage, like, I don't think they're going to be tutoring up creatures, and I don't think they're casting spells unless they have like a one of Yawgmoth's Will, but you don't need to do that with Belcher or Paradoxical. Damping Sphere is like perfectly reasonable against them, as is Chains of Mephistopheles, so I think we'll get Chains. In Damping Sphere, God, I mean, like, presumably they want to cast a lot of things, but I don't think they're playing a traditional Storm deck. I don't think a 2-mana artifact is going to be where I want to be. So I guess I'm going to cut my slow combo, and then I'll get Chalice. I wonder if they have creatures in their deck that I could actually try and steal. That would be cool. Yeah, we'll board in a Jailer. It's a dork that can attack, and they may at some point attempt to use their bin for something. Man, I wish I knew what this deck did. It would help me a lot. These are probably cards I should have taken out. Oh dear. And now I have both of them opening hand. So how good is a 5-card hand that makes Opposition Agent on turn 1 and then DTs for the other half of the combo on turn 2? Probably pretty good. I mean, you can also DT for the other half of the combo on turn 1, but it doesn't really speed it up because you only play 1 land a turn. I don't know if my opponent's going to search their library a lot, but like, this is a pretty fast combo. Upon reflection, I think this is actually a little loose. I got 2 blanks that, yeah, should not be in the deck. Probably 'cause I didn't recognize this weird border. Oh, gross. I got punished by drawing both of them. So yeah, so I think I could have gone down a little lower. My opponent's doing explosive things. Yeah. I was just thinking like land grant type effects with opposition agent. So something's happening. What did they get rid of? Gitaxian Probe. Manifold Key, alright. Mox Opal. Very fair so far. We're just casting some spells. Oh, this card's phenomenal. I really like this card. Yeah, okay, they have one land in their deck. Ah, a reasonable draw step. So I'm not sure what's going on here. They obviously cannot... Okay, sure, they just want to untap this so they could have access to blue if I tried to do something else. That's fair. Right. Good. That's a good start. Yeah, I think duressing them's probably better than... It's interesting because I can DT for Hex Mage to make the 2020. So if I duress... So if I play this and DT now, they've got a counter that sucks. Whereas if I duress them next turn, I can DT, play Dark Depth, but then I can't make the second black. I think if I duress them, they're sufficiently far behind that I can take an extra turn. Elvish Spirit Guide. Excellent. Let's get rid of that Goblin Charbelcher. There will be no fun for my opponent. Yeah, so I dodged a bullet there. They were going to Tolarian Academy that thing into play. And then they're going to kill me with it. Oh, so now I've managed to do everything, right? 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, cool. I don't think my opponent has interaction. Where's Vampire Hexmage? Ah, there it is. Of course, it's alphabetical. That makes a lot of sense. Oh no, maybe my opponent does have it if they're tanking. Right. I think they would be playing Wasteland in their deck. I just can't imagine them ever putting a Wasteland effect in their deck when they've got Charbelcher Academy stuff. Ah, this cycles. That's cool. Ancestral Recall? That's not fair. They may have a bounce spell, so I was just wondering if I was meant to... Like, if I meant to not... I can't imagine I meant to not make Marit Lage here. Like, if they've got Brazen Borrower or Echoing Truth or whatever, like, I guess they get me. And I get Opposition Agent and I just beat them down with those two instead. Oh, not two. Of course not, because this is no longer in play. Yeah, I think if they have the nonsense, they get me. I do like Mono Blue Belcher. Well, this is actually Simic Belcher, because my opponents added the best possible green cards they could. This card in particular I think is phenomenal. It's amazing in green decks in general, when it's a cantrip that always hits a land or a spell, depending on what you need at the time. And it's especially phenomenal when you've got Tolarian Academy as your one land, and you get to go and get it consistently. When I saw they named lands, I was actually a little surprised, and then realized very quickly what was going on. So something is happening. Sensei's Divining Top. That's quite reasonable. Spin Top. Sure. I cannot think of a reason to respond to this. I hope I am not proven wrong. But yes, at 4 cards in hand, my opponent can definitely do some powerful things. Ripping Veil into Ancestral was magnificent. But they can do some powerful things. Black Lotus will let them get out of a lot of spots. They have 3 mana to make some artifact that they can untap with Key. They could get a Belcher into play. That might be good enough. They could then find, cause they got not Simeon, Elvish Spirit Guide in hand as well. They could then find a way to activate it. So this game, I think, has been a lot more interesting from my opponent's side. But it does, I think, showcase if you were thinking of coming to Masters, this deck is totally reasonable. This combo is obnoxious. The format's not prepared for it because the format's not playing Swords to Plowshares like Legacy is. Alright, another Mox Opal. Very good. They are willing to destroy one of their Opals. But yes, the format's just very much not prepared for Marit Lage. No one's draw a card. I wonder if we're untapping in response. Obviously not if they've passed priority. But yeah, the format's just not really set up to deal with creatures. There's no Path to Exile, Swords to Plowshares running around. Mystical Tutor. Okay. And you can absolutely just make 2020s and kill people with them. They're not going to have removal spells. They might kill you faster. They might be able to power through it. But they're definitely not interacting, and you go pretty quickly. Also, Mising the Wasteland was delightful. So we can see what they get here. They've got blue. Okay, sure. So they can make a green and untap this and get blue and cast a Chain of Vapor or something. It can't be Chain of Vapor. They can cast something. Okay, so that was fun. I think the backdoor combo of Leyline of the Void plus Helm is a nice little tweak to that deck. It certainly lets you win games against Dredge game 1, where they just are completely unprepared for Leyline of the Void. Well, completely. Predominantly unprepared for Leyline of the Void. Force of Vigor now being a thing. But they're certainly not expecting to see it. They don't want to see it. But it also gives you, combo game against other decks that might attack your mana or leave Wastelands in play or stop you in some way from going off. Plus, occasionally Khan is just triple Vindicate on your opponent's 3 Moxen. Alright, so the last deck I was going to play. I suppose I can choose between Citadel Witch or Bug Midrange. If anyone has strong feelings about it, you can let me know. Otherwise, I'll probably play Citadel Witch. I think it's a bit more fun in terms of watching it and playing against it. Bug Midrange is just a pile of cards that don't really do anything. You just hope that Tarmogoyf can't be killed, or Oof shuts off your opponent's permanents, or Oko's obnoxious, or Leovold is less obnoxious but still obnoxious. Whereas the Citadel deck is just actually a lot of fun. Where is it? Here it is. You have Citadel plus Sedgemoor Witch, which we saw last week a little bit. You just get to chain through your deck, and when you're nearly out of life, you bowl Citadel, sacrifice some pests, gain 10 life. Or maybe not 10, gain 6 or 7 life, and keep going. And then if you don't fight on that axis, it's just a nice, fun, Grixis Xeroxy deck, playing basically no lands because we're greedy. Playing 2 Lightning Bolts, which I think is the standard for Arcanist, etc. 1 Pyroblast, and then the other 3 in the board. I also split the Flusterstorms. A lot of people are playing 4 Flusterstorms in this deck, but I was just a little anxious about that. I suspect we're now going to play a blue Xeroxy deck where Flusterstorm would be phenomenal, but not being able to tag artifacts against shops, not being able to tag enchantments like Oath of Druids or Planeswalkers against other fair decks. I like Spell Pierce a lot in this format. Sometimes you get to counter Moxen and no one ever really expects to have their land Spell Pierced. But otherwise, you have the Gush 2 Dazes combo with Mystic Sanctuary. So you play Mystic Sanctuary, put Gush on top of your library, draw Gush, Gush, pick up your Mystic Sanctuary, repeat. You can do something similar with Daze, where you probably don't rebuy the Daze, but you rebuy Ancestral Recall multiple times, etc. Otherwise, this deck's pretty standard. If you tuned in last week or you're familiar with the format, there's not a lot here that is particularly remarkable. I considered going for 3 Sedgemoor Witches, but you're not an aggro deck. Last week I played 4 Delvers, 3 Witches, 3 Pyromancers, 2 Sprite Dragons, something like that. But I think here we're playing more of a control role. We'll find a Witch eventually. And then the sideboard is quite sort of standard. You got Shattering Sprees with Mountains. These do the thing against the artifact decks. This does the thing against the graveyard deck. Pithing Needle comes in for the graveyard, but is also just good everywhere. Blightsteel Colossus is the second piece of the Tinker combo. I often prefer another big artifact. I like Battle Ball a lot, near Battlesphere, because it makes 4 idiots that stay even if they deal with the Battlesphere. And also you can occasionally cast Battlesphere if you draw it, and you can never ever cast Colossus if you draw it. And then you have a bunch of cards for the fair matchup. So Sprite Dragons go brrr, and attack and kill your opponent, and then some interaction. Excuse me. This deck is probably the sort of thing I'd expect to see quite a lot of at Masters. You might see it built in different ways. I don't think everyone's been playing the Citadel Witch combo, but I would expect it is sort of fair blue shell. If people don't have access to power, there are a lot of ways to build this deck that is still totally reasonable. Exciting, we get to go first. I would like to play first. This hand is fine. Nothing too exciting, some uncastable cards, but we've got a Preordain, a Daze, and a Mental Misstep. Like, if this finds a Volcanic Island, we're in pretty good shape. And I suspect we're playing against a fair deck where this hand is at its best. Alright. Preordain. So our opponent, Soul Ring and Spell Pierce. So we definitely don't want the Spell Pierce. I'm actually kind of curious about if we want the Soul Ring. I guess it's hard to say no to a Soul Ring. Man, that's interesting. Because I'm going to draw it, and if I don't draw a land, my next turn is just Underground Sea Soul Ring, and then I still don't cast anything in particular. But Soul Ring, like, ugh. No, I think I just need lands. I'm going to draw Tinker and be very sad. Narset. Narset, also not a card that Sol Ring would help me power out. Yeah, so Sol Ring is sort of at its worst in this deck, acknowledging it's still really busted. Alright, so we are playing against a Xeroxy Mirror. Please hit a land. Oh dear. The other option was if my opponent cast something, I could have dazed it and picked up my land over Mental Misstep. And that was another reason why I was thinking about keeping the Sol Ring. Because if my opponent has Misstep or Spell Pierce or Daze, Mox Sapphire, if they have those cards, I get to pick this up, hide the fact I'm Landlight. So this is an interesting one. I wonder what's going on with this. So I've got Daze and Misstep, so Arcanist is probably going to resolve, but they played out their Mox. So maybe it's Hullbreacher. If it's Hullbreacher, I can Daze it, that's fine. And if it's just like a generic counterspell, we can just see what happens. I think I'm wanting to play this because otherwise I'm probably not going to play a land next turn. Like, it's quite unlikely to draw a land on any given turn in this deck. So if I just say go, I mean, cool, I can Pyroblast something, but it's all a bit whatever. Alright, Scalding Tarn. Tropical Islands. Intriguing. We're getting Daze. Ah, I see. I was not thinking about Daze. That's a shame. Alright, I guess Arcanist is gone. Hopefully that means Narset gets to resolve. Mystical Tutor. I F6'd as well. I was meant to Mental Misstep that. Oh dear. Yeah, I mean, I guess I get to misstep the Ancestral, but I would much rather not let them put Ancestral in their hand. I could have sworn I put this card on the bottom of my library. Motobug. Alright, well, we'll make a Sol Ring. And then we will ship the turn. And I'll be curious to see if our opponent attempts to Ancestral. I don't think they're going to Ancestral. I think they'll just sit and wait. Oh no. So they've got Force of Will, pitching Brainstorm. The counter target spell if it's blue, so we will counter the Ancestral Recall. Not that I think that actually meant fuck off. Oh my god. Oh. Oh, we got. That's not good. So they're drawing 4 cards. They had to force to protect it, which is, sort of the slim lining on top of that. It means that, our Narset might resolve next turn, but yeah. That was not how I wanted that turn to go. I suppose if you go Force of Will plus Veil of Summer, then jamming is totally fine. No, tap your Mox as well. Let me Daze something. Yeah, I wonder if... I was thinking more about the turn where I played Dreadhorde Arcanist, but... yeah, I don't think sitting there and just crop rotation... Oh. I don't think just sitting there is really the right thing to do. Yes, you may pollute a delta. Can you please tinker? That would be fantastic. Oh. They had a land. Please don't tinker now. That would in fact not be fantastic. Retreat to Hagra. Cool, they can landfall, do some stuff. So fast bond just has to be in this deck. Right, like, yeah, like fast bond is just 100% in this deck if they're playing this card. Treasure Cruise. Alright, well, I guess we got rewarded. It doesn't matter what I pick up. I'm less likely to need the black next turn. If they have a counterspell here, I'll be very upset. Okay. Okay, this is, you know, like, slightly more fair than I thought it was going to be. After they won that fight on the stack. So we can presume they don't have interaction. They don't have Red Blast, or I'd have seen red. So the lines like Dak Faden steal their mocks, Dak Faden draw 2, discard 2, or just Narset cut off their draw spells. And they've burned Ancestral and Cruise, but they've probably got 4 Preordains, Brainstorm, Ponder, etc. Like, I'm inclined to think this is better. Yeah, let's... I'm not using this because this might become Mystic Sanctuary at some point. So let's Narset and see what happens. Gosh. Ah, I see. Well, I guess they're definitely needing to respond with Gush. So they don't draw a counterspell here, yeah. Then they're quite behind on mana. Like, the mana development's pretty stunted. Flusterstorm or Preordain? I guess they've already resolved the thing I care about. Like, and this doesn't counter... This doesn't counter Fast Bond, and... I mean, next turn I can... 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like, I can Dak and do something else. I suspect this is hitting the graveyard off Dak. I think I like Preordain slightly more than Flusterstorm. No, I'm drawing 3 cards next turn. I think I can take the Flusterstorm. So... my opponent's now up on cards, and will be slowly draining me with Retreat to Hagra. Hedron Crab. Ah. Right. Guess my Lightning Bolt has a target after all. And a Misty Rainforest. Lovely. The deck's a delight. I mean, this card is a must kill on turn 1. I don't know if it's a must kill on turn 1,000,000. It probably is. Otherwise it decks me a little too efficiently. Flight of Preordain's Golden Time. Cool. Cool. So they still have... because they picked up Trop and Underground Sea. So they've got 2 real cards in their hand. Okay. So Dak, discard Dak is a pretty good line. I think I start by Narseting because I want to see what I draw. Mana, Cryptomox, Sapphire, Force of Negation. Like, we're about Force of Negation more than anything else. Because it counters Fast Bond. I think I actually do want to kill this. I don't know if I wait until they crack their Misty in my end step, though. So this is getting Volcanic Island, because I need to bolt this. Red, blue, Sol Ring. Oh, and this is taking their marks. They are not allowed mana. Cool. I was also slightly worried about them milling me out of like legal targets for my fetch lands. So I presume they're gonna. That's not good. That's okay. I'll find an answer to it next turn. Suppose I got punished there by not just bolting first. Because if I bolt first, I can hard cast the Force of Negation. Though I suspect if I'd bolted first and then misstepped, I would have held the Force of Negation. Like, Fast Bond and this thing are much worse than Hedron Crab and this thing. So they milled Emerald Lotus Dreadhorde Arcanist. Ah, they gave this Death Touch. Oh, it gives it +1 plus. Oh, I thought it just gave it Death Touch. Alright, that I missed. That one's on me. Alright. Alright. My opponent's F6'd. I'm gonna go get Citadel and try and win the game. Yeah, I think I'd pitch the Force of Negation and then I can have Flusterstorm as a spell I can keep up. Yeah, don't misclick on this one. Bolus's Citadel. So, Misty Rainforest, Preordain. I need to start holding control because I have a fetch land in play. This is slow. Sorry. I don't really want to fetch yet because I'm going to preordain that to the bottom. But I actually want to leave DT on top of my deck. Oh, I actually don't need to... Yeah, cool. Send more Witch triggers so I can not hold control in a lot of spots here. So I think Force of Will is like the safest card to get here. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 permanents. No, I think Ancestral's the safest card to get here. Or Brainstorm. That's an interesting spot. My brain just can't possibly have real interaction. So I'm going to get Brainstorm. Mox Jet, so although I do want that, so, oops, that goes on top. That goes on top of it, so I draw the ruby and bolt my opponent. I'm going to gush at some point. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Ugh, gross. Yeah, so I suppose I should have DT'd differently before. That's fine. My opponent is probably not beating these cards. Yeah, I think I should put DT back on top of my deck when I put Preordain on top. I was just thinking about what I was DTing for. Yep. And the other thing is like I could have lightning bolted this, but you know, I didn't think it was likely to matter. I thought if I find a way to get the second lightning bolts, I can just win the game. Yeah, so I think the correct line, having never played this deck, was like to brainstorm the gush off the top of my deck to my hand and play it to pick up the Mystic Sanctuary. I mean, like, this is just not happening. Yeah, so I played pretty poorly, but it will hopefully work out. So my opponent needs to make a lot of land drops now to kill me. Ah, I knew they had a fast bond. Alright, so we will need to play better in game 2. So we want this because it's interaction. We want this because our opponent's definitely doing something that's harder to interact with than what we're doing. I don't know how many more Pyroblasts I want. So I don't want Flusterstorms because I don't counter the most important things in the matchup. So I think I'd rather have Pyroblasts. Trim a Dreadhorde. I'd rather kill my opponent very quickly with Sprite Dragon. Spell Pierce, Probe, Misstep, Daze. I could go down to 1 daze, but they're casting some expensive things. Like Retreat the Hydra is not a cheap permanent. Maybe I don't want all 3 Pyroblasts, because they're going a lot of good black and green cards. And 4 answers to their things, probably enough. Daze, Force Negation, Sedgemoor Witch, Gush, Citadel. I'm just wondering if Colossus is better than Citadel. It's probably not. I think actually we'll just take a Pyroblast over the Bolt. Okay. I don't know what the last card to cut is, so we'll cut 1 daze. That's usually correct. And they're also playing daze, so that's something to be quite cautious of. This hand's very reasonable. We're just going to sit around and wait for things to happen. Our first Arcanist can be countered, we don't really care. Black Lotus! It's just like Black Lotus. So, is if they crack it for like blue and play like Crab, Land, Retreat to Hagra? Yeah. If I had Volcanic Island in play, I would force this. Like, they have to have their own force of will for this. I feel like their deck is quite possibly... If they played land first, I 100% would not have forced it. Yeah, Crab's here. So Crab will go away next turn, which is fine. Well, they can mill me a little bit. I don't care about putting a few cards in my bin. Yeah, so I'm somewhat cautious about them having a daze. But if they had daze, there's no way they sequence Lotus first. Yeah, if they have daze, there's no way they sequence Lotus first. They would 100% have played the land. So if Hedron Crab mills me for 3 or even for 6, I think I'm fine with that. I'm just going to draw 3. Yeah, cool. We have to be a little... Ooh, interesting. We have to be a little cautious about the clock here because we took so long last game. So this, yeah, does support the whole idea of, like, if you let Lotus resolve, they can just cast multiple things. I'm going to jam Arcanist and... Oop, that is tap for red. And then if they mill me for a bunch, that's fine. Ah, they had a Force of Will. And must have drawn at that turn. This game would have played out differently if that Force of Will was in their opening hand. Like, I can see letting Lotus go, I can't see letting Ancestral go. Yep, so they mill me for 6, which is fine. Because I have another Dreadhorde Arcanist. And I'm starting to get a little bit worried about my library, because I do need a lot of the cards in there, but we'll see what happens. Scalding Tarn. Cool. Now I can Arcanist with Pyroblast back up, and next turn we're going to put this on top of our library. So that seems quite good. This is running. Maybe I should have fetched first. I'll see if they do anything in my end step. VT. Right, which I can't counter because it's my turn. I think I'm just going to let it go. If I get red source, I just signal Pyroblast, which my opponent probably already assumes I have, but I also don't want them to play like a land and a risk milling my Volcanic Island, so I'm going to have to get it early at some point. Next turn, I'm very much going to like shoot one of these rather than Ancestral. And at some point, I'll pick up a blue card so I can stop holding Sprite Dragon. Assassin's Trophy. So we're going to fetch first. And we're going to get Volcanic Island. And then we're not going to let this happen. Okay. Cool. If they didn't have a land drop, then I'm actually feeling pretty good about this. Dack Faden. Excellent. So we're going to attack, kill this. Put Ancestral on top of our deck. Dack, draw Ancestral, cast Ancestral. No, pass with both up. And then next turn we will cast Ancestral Recall again with Dreadhorde Arcanist. I think the way we lose this game is like they do something involving the Hedron Crab combo. Ugh. My island's going for sure. I think Narset is worse than Pyroblast. Do I want to draw 6 cards or do I want to kill a thing and draw 3 cards? I think I want to draw 6 cards. If they've got days, then I guess I'm just going to have to live with that. Cool. Nearly clicked the no, which would have been horrific. Cool. They will presumably block. No, they're just. I don't know why I tried to cast that card. Cool. So I think we're in a really good spot here. I don't think there are many outs our opponent can have. We eventually stopped screwing around and we just drew the cards and achieved the thing. Lightning bolts. So Sprite Dragon plus Bolt is 9 damage. I think that's the best line, excluding some nonsense lines based on us drawing cards and having things happen. Do not want Mana Crypt. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mana. Yeah, I'm just going to Sprite Dragon. And we're going to try and end this game as quickly as possible. So we'll try and attack our opponent's resources by taking care of 2 Hedron Crabs. Flusterstorm. Yeah, sure, that's fine. I wonder how often our opponent needs to mill themselves with Hedron Crab. So we're going to Pyroblast because Lightning Bolt is going to go at their face potentially. So this is pitching this, and Pyroblast is back up, and we can pay for the days if we need to. And our opponent's just, I believe, what's this? Crop rotation. I just don't think this can be allowed to happen. Like, I don't know what they can get, but whatever they can get is very, very good. It just seems like the sort of thing that can get them back into the game. Although they're very likely just getting another land to trigger Hedron Crab again. So they're at 4-5, cool. Ah, Bolus's Citadel, you say. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Cool, I guess we're doing that then. Goodbye, Misty Rainforest. Goodbye, Sedgemoor Witch. And then we'll find enough things off the top to kill them with Sprite Dragon. This is 7, 8, 9, so 2 more spells wins. Well, we, I guess, don't want a Force of Will, because we don't have a blue card to go with it. No, sorry, we put this on top, and we put Force of Will on top, and it goes into our hand. That's actually fine. We cast Sedgemoor Witch. We Pyroblast, Hedron Crab, misstep our own Pyroblast? That's 2 spells, 9, 10. No, I think if we just attack, it's fine. We just know we have Mental Misstep on top of the deck. There's the Lightning Bolt. Yeah, so these games are cool. I enjoyed playing them. If you watch them at the time or you watch them later, we very much hope you come to the Total Masters. It'll be a lot of fun. There are a lot of unpowered decks that we played last time that are very, very good. They still do a thing that's pretty powerful. And even something like this deck here, yes, it's playing power, but if you cut the Black Lotus and the Mox Jet, this deck is still very, very good. Lotus Petal's cheap, Mana Crypt you can probably borrow, a lot of people have them for Commander, etc. And then some of the other expensive cards like Imperial Seal you can probably borrow. Literally nobody wants to play this card in their deck, so people that have them will probably be happy to lend them to you. VT as well, DT, they're very popular Commander tutors. And Wheel I suppose is the other very expensive card, but you can probably borrow one, and if you have to cut it, it's not the end of the world. I think someone said there are 16 people registered for Masters already. Hopefully with the whole COVID situation, it does go ahead. But the store is refunding the money if you don't play, and just turn up, bash, have a blast. We all expect it to be a lot of fun. Hopefully see you then. If you have any questions or you wanted to run any decks, format ideas, etc. past either of us, Webb and I are more than happy to have a chat. Basically ever, but especially in the next couple of weeks before that goes ahead. Alright, cheers.